Hi, welcome to Front Runner. It's my honor and privilege today to introduce a friend of both Kathy's and mine, Dr. Richard Radtke. Richard, thanks so much for coming.
Oh, thanks for having me, Jim.
We've wanted to address issues of role modeling and setting high expectations for youth, and I'm not sure there's anybody that I know that is more qualified to address those than yourself.
Oh, thanks, Jim. I'm flattered.
You're a scientist, but you've also really wanted to kind of share what you know and what you represent with young people.
Well, part of what I've done most of my life, Jim, is I believe that I only get one life, so I'm going to live it, and I'm going to live it to the best that I can. And what I've come to realize later on is that other people should have that same freedom, and that it's not something that is economical or something that's based on other things other than attitudes. So I want to try to share part of that because I think everyone should have that opportunity.
Richard, Jim and I have known you for a number of years.
Yeah.
10.
And yeah, about 10 for me also. And I know that some of our viewers might be wondering about your disability and what part that plays in your life.
I'm what's called an upper level quadriplegic due to multiple sclerosis, and I'm unable to move from the neck down. So that anything that I have to have done, from being fed to being helped on the toilet to giving a bath, everything, I have to have someone assist me. The only thing that I don't is once I'm hooked up to my computers and I use a headset and I use a whistle phone, then I pretty much control those. But everything else is pretty much tied in with my disability.
I want to throw in something though. Actually, the first thing I think about is you're a scientist, and you're a field-based scientist. You're kind of an adventurer. I'm throwing these words out just to make sure I don't offend you. But
I'm not offended at all.
I've seen you at your computer countless hours, but the truth is the images I actually carry tend to be more in helicopters and boats and airplanes and cranes and
scuba tanks.
I mean, I think those of us who know you actually carry images that are way different than what we might imagine.
Well, see, before I had multiple sclerosis, I enjoyed all those things. And when I first found out I had multiple sclerosis and things started going downhill, I thought I had to give them all up. And I realized that they were part of me, that I loved adventure, I loved doing challenges, I loved doing things that really excited me, and I had to find ways to do those. And so I find numerous very different ways to do things.
Rich, we've invited 2 young people to be front runners, we're calling, on our program, who went to Camp Waimanu with you, Ken Tatafu and Brandon Polito. And I know they want to talk about you. Now, why would that be?
Well, first off, I'm flattered. Secondly, probably because I don't really have huge limits put on my life, meaning that I work at making things happen that I really want to do. One of the things that I wanted to do was I wanted to take people with disabilities and I wanted to show them a part of Hawaii that is extremely beautiful, extremely isolated, and that they could do it. And it's not that difficult. I mean, it's not to say that there aren't some times when things become very much just a plain pain, but that there's a lot of things that get past that.
I just want to make sure our viewers get this. Last year we took a group of kids to Waimanu on the Big Island.
Right.
Those kids that were in wheelchairs or who had trouble walking were flown in helicopters.
As was I.
As were you. We had individuals who were blind as well as wheelchair users. We had scientists of all sorts, including yourself and other scientists with disabilities.
Yes.
We used inflatable boats to cruise down the beautiful river that flows through the valley.
And there's no power, there's no There's no plumbing. There's no modern conveniences.
We lived in tents and rain.
Yeah, and I took an air mattress with me, so that made me a little bit more comfortable.
And you held up expectations that we weren't just there to have fun. We were actually there to do science and think about careers.
Well, I mean, I have a different, see, part of my adventuresome spirit is to find out new things. I guess I'm driven by just the wanting to find what new knowledge is out there. And I want other people to share that lust, so you speak, for knowledge. And I want people to realize it's all over the place, and that you can have a great time while you're doing that. I mean, we caught fish, we measure fish, we do all our identifications. We can provide something that is valuable to everyone. At the same time, we can have a good time at that. And I think all good scientists do that.
From what I've heard, I wasn't able to be there at the camps with you, but I've heard that the kids...
You missed it.
I know, I'm really bummed. But the kids just really, really enjoyed it. And I think the model that you set up for them of going ahead and doing what it was you wanted to do and figuring out how to make it happen taught a lot of kids that there were lots of things, lots of options they had that they didn't know before.
Yeah, I want people to know that, well, I wanted them to know the beauty that I saw in this world. I wanted them to know that the adventure that I had, because whether you have a disability or not, a lot of us are driven by, we want to have an adventure in life.
Mm-hmm.
Ken was, I wish I had a movie camera to capture it, but he was pulling himself over the rocks on the beach, and he had tears coming down his eyes. And my first was I was concerned to make sure he was okay. But he said, he goes, I'm fine. He just said, I just never thought I would be able in a place like this, and that I can do any of these things, and that's always stuck with me.
Rich, as you're talking, my mind just went to Kokee on Kauai. We flew kites. I remember we had a kite so big, and some kid was in a wheelchair just being pulled across the grounds by a kite. We've actually tried a bit of everything.
Well, we've gone up into the swamp.
You've got this chair. Would you tell the folks about this chair you have and how you get youth to muscle you through the mud and grime?
Well, any of the places that I go to are not any, but many of them are not handicap accessible. One thing that I learned early on is, a regular wheelchair like the one that I'm sitting in works fine if you have a sidewalk. But you get out past that, it doesn't work very well at all. A good friend of mine who also does invented this chair. He's in Alaska. It is actually pulled. It is actually a three-wheeled chair, and basically you pull people with two people on the back to help.
It's like a rickshaw sort of thing.
Yeah, and you can then go over. Wow, you can go over tremendous obstacles.
But it gives youth, teenagers, and kids that are looking for meaning in their lives, it gives them something to do. They're helping. I've seen youth feed you, help you bathe in cold streams, muscle you through all kinds of, watch you hit your head on low-slung airplanes. I mean, the truth is...
That wasn't done on tension, I tell you.
Oh, yes, it was, Rick. No. But I think I've thought about this a lot, and it's like adventure gives youth also a chance to take some risks and be tender. When that coal miner got saved the other day, those 9 guys underground, one guy said, to survive, we cuddled.
Yeah.
And I thought, what a funny word from a coal miner. But it's like at the core of kind of what people, the best that's in us.
Well, I think we all want to, I think underneath all of us, we all want to help. Okay, and people many times don't know how to help someone in a wheelchair because they feel uncomfortable or something. So when we work with different students and different people, I want to give them the opportunity because I've been in this wheelchair now for almost 17 years. I'm not saying I'm 100% comfortable with it, but I need somebody to feed me, and whether you hit the spot all the time or not, I'm not the messy feeder, you are.
We got to throw in one more thing. You expect these kids to get on to college?
Oh, I have high expectations.
Would you just please address that for a minute?
Well, the expectations many times with people with disabilities is that, there's only a certain amount of achievement that they can do. And that's not the case. And part of that drives me, I think every person has the right to fail. And people say, well, why do you say that? I said, because when you go to college, regular college, have the right to fail. And so should people with disabilities.
Well, most of us have had lots of failure experiences in our lives, but I think you're a winner. So thank you for being here with us.
Oh, thank you, and I'd be happy to share whatever but I can with people.
Thanks, friend.
Yeah.